Hey everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 7's rosters, Chaos Dwarves. We're going through every team available in Blood Bowl 2020 right now, whether it's from the rulebook, a Spike magazine, or like Chaos Dwarves here, from the Teams of Legend PDF, which is linked below. Now, we're going through all those teams, and we're putting together some of the most fun and competitive rosters for Blood Bowl 7s. Now, we've done a series of these videos before, but we're redoing them in line with the updated Blood Bowl 7s rules from the Deathzone book. A few of the inducements changed, a few of the core rules changed, so if you want a full breakdown of that, please go have a look at our video where we go through all of those changes. But for now, we are going to take the last 2 years 2020 experience and an insane amount of 7s and go through some great and also fun Chaos Dwarf rosters. Okay, so why are Chaos Dwarves so much fun in 7s? Well, they've kind of got a little bit of everything except Edge 2+. You've got Strength 4, you've got a big guy, you've got block, tackle, you've got Edge 3 movement 6 pieces. The team is built really well at doing most things. Now, there's a few things missing from the team, but we'll talk about that in a second. We're going to focus on some of the coolest pieces of this team. So you get up to 4 positionals in Blood Bowl 7s, and you can only have up to 4 positionals, but 2 of those positionals can potentially be the Bull Centaur. Now, the Bull Centaur is a fantastic piece in Blood Bowl. Movement 6, Strength 4, and it comes with Sprint and Sure Feet, which means it's basically Movement 9 most of the time anyway. And did I mention that it was Strength 4? So you've really got Movement 9, Strength 4 piece, and you can take 2 of them. Now, the downside of them is that they don't come with any combat skills, and they are only Edge 4+. But basically, you've got like a Movement 9 Black Orc rampaging around the pitch. And at Movement 9, yeah, alright, Edge 4+ is not automatic, but Movement 9 is a heck of a scoring threat, as well as just being one of the best safeties in the game. Now, with a single skill, and the cool thing is, because of that stat block, you can give them a ton of cool skills. Obviously, block is best, but, you know, Frenzy's quite entertaining too. They make excellent sweepers and excellent blitzers. But you've also got a Minotaur. Now, I love the Rat Ogre in 7s. I think it is one of, if not, well, it's not the best big guy in the game for 7s, because it is, in fact, this Minotaur. This Minotaur is the best big guy in Blood Bowl 7s because it has the Minotaur stat block, right? Move 5, Strength 5, Frenzy, Horns. But it's also got Animal Savagery. So the other Minotaurs in this game all have Wild Animal, right? They have Unchanneled Fury, which is if I want to do something, I have to roll a 4+. If I want to punch somebody or run at somebody and then punch them, it's a 2+. And on a 1+, I just stare into space. This dude here has got all of those rules, except on a 1, he will punch a friendly guy in base contact and then do that action anyway. So essentially, as long as you've got someone to feed to this Minotaur will never let you down until you roll block dice. And that, I think, mixed with Horns, gives him the edge over the Rat Ogre. The Rat Ogre's got 1 more square of movement, the Croxagor's got 1 more square of movement, and Bonehead, which means he's 2+ reliable all the time. But this guy, with Horns, is more likely to be able to get a 3-die into another 3-die. He's the most likely player to get a 6-die block at a target within 4 or 5 squares. And that, for me, gives him the edge when it comes to the big guys in Blood Bowl 7s. And the Hobgoblin lineman on this team is really cheap. You're going to have maybe a spare lineman or 2, so that if that Minotaur has a bad day, worst case scenario, he's got no one around him and he just fails, which is still better than a Bonehead. But if you've got someone next to him, he can knock them out and then carry on with his life, which is just super effective, and which just means that you've got the best blitzer in 7s here, and it's phenomenal. Yeah, backed up by Hobgoblins, who are 40k with movement 6 and edge 3+. They are not the toughest player, they are not the strongest player, they have got no skills at all, but at 40k, they are a strength 3 filler. Alright, you've got movement 6, which is just fine, and in 7s you get a little bit open space. Edge 3+ means you're likely to do everything you want to do more often than not. Alright, 3+ is always a risky roll in Blood Bowl, but actually, it ain't bad. and they fulfill that role. Now, I haven't got the Chaos Dwarf blockers actually on this list as well, but you've got a series of blockers you can take with great skill access. You start with block, tackle, thick skull, so they fill in that kind of mid-range blocker role. They're not the strongest, they're not the fastest, so they do get left behind a little bit in sevens, and they will get out-blocked a little bit in sevens as well. But you've got the Bull Centaur, the Minotaur, and a bunch of Hobgoblins to choose from. The weaknesses of this team is medium speed. The Bull Centaurs, alright, they can run around at a tremendous gallop, but if they want to go over 9, then obviously if they want to go over 6, then it's obviously you're rolling that dice, you're taking that risk, and that's the same of every player. So it's basically the Bull Centaur is movement 6. You can push it, and it is reliable because you've got sure feet, but 1 into a 1 will still end your turn. The Minotaur's movement 5, the Dwarves are movement 4, and the Hobgoblins are movement 6. So they are movement 6. They're a medium speed team. They are expensive as well. The Hobgoblins being cheap is wonderful. But Bull Centaurs, Minotaurs are pricey, and even the Chaos Dwarves are costed at 70k. And if you take a Chaos Dwarf, then you're going to miss out one of the other positionals. And the rerolls are a monstrous 140k. So sevens, you get a budget of 600, and rerolls are doubled. So being able to take everything that you want is challenging. The good thing is, anything of any of this is good. So you are good to go. And yeah, you've got no sure hands, and your linemen don't have block. But you can't have everything. So let's start having a look at these rosters. The first one we're going to have a look at, and our starting point for Chaos Dwarf 7 rosters, is the 2-Bull Reroll. And in it, you get 2 Bull Centaurs and a Reroll, backed up by 5 Hobgoblins for a total of 7 players. So you don't get a lot spare here, and you don't get a lot in the way of choices. As we go through the rosters, we'll be able to iterate upon this, and we can see what players and what options we can have in there instead. But as a starting point, this one is a really fun roster for sevens. You've got 5 very capable linemen. Alright, they're as tough as Skaven linemen and as fast as human linemen is probably the best way to put it. But actually, in sevens, they're really good. And for 40k, they are brilliant value. Because what it allows you to do is spend flipping 200 and something k on 2 Bull Centaurs. Now, what this roster gives you is 2 of those big strength 4, speed 6 to 9 blitzers, blockers, ball carriers, and almost basically big guys. This gives you a ton of flexibility. Your roster here is min speed 6, which is pretty good. You've got that stretch play there of the Bull Centaurs being movement 9, but it also means that they've got a massive threat range, and your opponent is going to struggle to shield all of their players all of the time, especially when you're looking at a blitz range of 8 squares plus target. So the Bull Centaurs are always on. There is always a target, and because they're strength 4 with 1 support, you're going to be able to protect them from getting counterblocked too strong anyway. Now, when it comes to skills, if you're playing League, it's going to be random, and whatever happens, you're going to end up with some cool skills, and you can try them out and have a good time. There's going to be some bad ones, there's going to be some good ones. If you are playing an expansion league like 7 Super Series, or a constructed format like a tournament setting, this is where things get interesting. So skills-wise for the Bull Centaurs, block is obviously the best skill. It helps on offense, it helps on defense. The Bull Centaur can go up there and block somebody down, and on the counter-strike, block is going to keep him standing. That is very useful. So block is the best skill in sevens, dodge is the second best skill in sevens, and sure hands is probably the third best skill in sevens in my opinion. Now, with the Bull Centaur, you can also go and give one of them tackle to give you that extra bit of safety. In sevens, everyone's going to try and sneak a bit of dodge in there. Okay, dodge gives you that internal reroll, and because rerolls are so expensive in sevens, it's a huge boon to be able to keep somebody moving. So, you know, any move 7 piece that can swing dodge is going to be a massive threat. So having one player with tackle on the roster is going to be really effective. The difficult thing here is that if you give the Bull Centaur tackle, it's going to be great, but you might as well give him block. So it's interesting here when it comes to Bull Centaurs. Block is a really great skill for them. Tackle is going to help you build a good safety. I would probably go block over tackle on a Bull Centaur, but tackle is never going to be bad. Pro is a very useful skill. Basically, if you don't like your die roll, on a 3+, you can re-roll one of those dice. So if you roll a 2-die block, on a 3+, you get to pick one and re-roll it. If you're taking a dodge roll and you don't like the result, you can roll a dice, and on a 3+, you get to re-roll it. So it's not a given, but what Pro does is it makes you statistically better at everything as opposed to just one thing. Now, a Bull Centaur is going to be doing everything. It's going to be trying to pick up the ball. It's going to be taking a bad dodge every now and again. It's going to be taking an extra go for it once you've failed a stretch and a safe No, once you failed a go for it and a sure feat reroll, you might want to go for it again, and Pro is going to help keep you alive. Pro is a really powerful skill in 7s because it gives you that extra chance at a reroll, but it is not automatic. You can also give the Bull Centaur Frenzy. It's strength 4. You're probably going to swing 1 support. That gives you 2 dice followed up by 2 dice. Block is obviously consistently better, but Frenzy gets twice the blockage, and then of course you can go Mighty Blow if you want to go removal. Now, this roster here, you've got those 2 Bull Centaurs, and block is the best thing you can do with them. You're going to be giving up a couple of things. You're not going to be able to sneak any dodge into this roster, and you're not probably going to be able to take tackle. You can take tackle on a Bull Centaur, but I think overall block is better than tackle if you don't have it because of the way the dice fall. So both down. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. If your defender has block, tackle is slightly better if you are trying to take on a dodge piece because you can always both go down and you kind of achieve the same thing. That one's very much up to you in this case. Now, the cool thing about this roster, and we'll have a look at a couple of different ones, the Chaos Dwarf roster that is that you can get some integral tackle in there. You just have to give up some pieces. Now, the good thing about this roster is you've got that reroll built in, but if you have a secondary skill, which you're unlikely to have too often because Chaos Dwarves are a tier 1 team, chucking leader on a dude is pretty effective. But for now, we're going to assume you don't have any doubles, so it's going to be looking at the Hobgoblins now. They are linemen. Any skill is good on a lineman. So a random general in your league setting, no problem at all. Block is great. Kick is great. Sure Hands is going to help build you a ball carrier. Tackle on a Hobgoblin is going to be really effective too. Their movement 6 gives you good coverage as well. So there's no bad skills really for a Hobgoblin. Yes, I know shadowing is a thing, but that movement 6, it could still work. Okay, so we're going to switch up the roster a little bit. We're going to drop a Bull Centaur, and that gives us enough cash to upgrade up to 3 Hobgoblins into Chaos Dwarves. So, why would you want to do that? One, you've still got your Bull Centaur to be your big guy, to be your blitzer, to be your blocker, to be your safety, okay? That Bull Centaur gives you so much reach and so much power that it is a really solid way to build a roster. Then you've got, like I said, up to 3 Chaos Dwarves. I've just maxed it out because you can, but actually you can flex in and take only 2 and save that 30k for an assistant coach. It's just not worth it. But those Chaos Dwarves are going to slow you down. They are movement 4 instead of movement 6. They're still edge 3, so they can still do stuff. They are just a lot slower. The boon here now is that you've got 3 block tackle pieces, which is plenty to be able to cover your backfield in 7s. So you go 3 Hobgoblins up front, 3 Chaos Dwarves behind. Your opponent's not going to be able to run anywhere in your backfield that you are not going to be able to go up there and either support and 2-die block with the Chaos Dwarf or tag and then block with your Bull Centaur. This creates a really effective team of defense. The downside is that Chaos Dwarves are slow, and in 7s you can find yourself getting separated if you don't play smart with movement 4 or 5 pieces. So they can get left behind, and if your opponent is good at this, they can probably find a way to separate those Chaos Dwarves. And when your opponent's team, maybe there's 5 or 6 players left over, are targeting 1 Bull Centaur and 3 Hobgoblins, you're going to start suffering casualties. And if you lose that Bull Centaur because it's got isolated because those Chaos Dwarves have been left behind, you are going to kick yourself. But on the other side, they have got really easy access to a couple of strength skills that are not bad in Blood Bowl 7s. Cheeky bit of guard is going to allow everybody a profitable block when you build that mosh pit. Once you get into the mosh pit, that is going to start ending the opponent's game. They can also take Mighty Blow to just spam a bit of removal. Now, Mighty Blow is not the most effective skill in 7s because the turns are so short that any kind of temporary removal is better. So blocking a dude and stunning a dude is perfectly fine because it's 2 turns. That's a third of a half. Like, you're good to go. But having that guard bit there to give you consistent blocks is going to be really good too. Quite frankly, Chaos Dwarves here are a choice. You are going to be playing a slower game. You are going to have to wait for your opponent to come to you. You're going to have to try and encourage them to get into that mosh pit. But once they do, that block is going to keep you safe. It's going to keep them unsafe, and that tackle is going to keep them in place as well. So basically, it gives you 3 good anti-dodge defenders, but at quite a cost to the movement of the team. Now, you can lean in to taking Chaos Dwarves if you've only got Chaos Dwarves or don't want to run a Bull Centaur for some reason. So we've got the 4-blocker reroll build here. So we've gone for 4 Chaos Dwarves, so maxed out our positionals, taking those Chaos Dwarves, 3 Hobgoblins at the moment and 1 team reroll. Now, that team reroll for all of these rosters is going to be there to help you pick up the ball. It's going to save you on a bad double skull block or something like that. And it really is going to basically buy you an extra turn, which is going to give you a pretty solid kick. Now, this roster here only comes in at 540,000. So you've got some options at last to choose what you build. So, plus 3 coaches. Assistant coaches are 20k in 7s, and they add plus 1 to the roll when you roll Brilliant Coaching. Brilliant Coaching is now on a 7 via the kickoff table, so 1 in 6 kickoffs is going to result in that, and if you win that roll, you get that reroll. So having assistant coaches is going to be a boon sometimes. 1 in 6 kickoffs, that's basically going to help you win a reroll. That's pretty good. Now, alternatively, there are 2 cool things you can do here. 1, you can take that 8th Hobgoblin. Hobgoblins are a bit vulnerable. With a roster like this that is a bit slow, you are likely to be having to stretch your movement, or maybe putting a Hobgoblin out there in a place where he's a bit unsupported or doesn't want to be, and therefore it's going to lead to his untimely death. Having an 8th dude to chuck in there is going to kind of save you from that. Or you can take a Desperate Measure. Now, I love Desperate Measures in Blood Bowl 7s. They are swingy. They are, some of them, not very good. Some of them, one of them's a wizard, so happy Ben, right? They are swingy, they are fun, they are narrative. Sometimes it's going to go great for you, sometimes it's not, and sometimes you're just going to forget that you have it, like the weather. So it is an inconsistent but very entertaining thing that you can add to 7s. And 7s is a very fast and entertaining way to play Blood Bowl. If you run in this roster and you want to be consistent, then quite frankly, a Hobgoblin and a coach is going to be the best way to spend your money. But if you're after a laugh and fingers crossed a good roll of a D8, Desperate Measure. Okay, time to bring out the big guy, and are you serious? We've got a reroll in there as well. Yes. Yes. Okay, we're cooking. Right, 2-blocker Mino. Reroll has got 2 blockers, a Mino and a reroll. I know these are not the most creative team descriptions, but they are actually descriptive descriptions. So, we have taken that Minotaur in here. Now, it is a very similar roster to the 1 Bull Centaur, because Bull Centaurs are only a little bit cheaper than a Minotaur. You trade that extra strength and frenzy and horns for consistency. However, Animal Savagery, it's a gimme, guys. It is it's just fantastic, which means I really need to print out and play with a vampire team because I love vampires, and that's all about Animal Savagery. Anyway, 2-blocker Mino. You've got 2 Chaos Dwarves and 4 Hobgoblins to be your team. This is now a slower team. Those 2 Chaos Dwarves are there to be your backfield kind of defense, all right? They are going to be able to be your short-range blitzers, basically. Having both of them behind a shield of Hobgoblins is going to allow you to get that tackle and that block exactly where you want to all of the time. That is how you're going to have to play the core of your team. And then you've got the point-click cannon that is the enslaved Minotaur for Chaos Dwarves. You need to babysit him with a Hobgoblin or even a Chaos Dwarf to make him work all of the time, but all of the time it works all of the time when he's supported. If he fails, he's going to punch one of your dudes. And when I say punch one of your dudes, he's going to roll armor against one of your guys with Mighty Blow. So that's why it's always quite nice to feed him a worthless player like a lineman. However, Chaos Dwarves, armor 10 plus with Thick Skull are not the worst thing to be hit down. The downside is that when they stand up, they've only got 1 movement, so that's going to be a problem. And if you take out one of your Chaos Dwarves, you're going to be a bit sorry. But I don't mind it, because armor 10 plus, even with Mighty Blow, are long odds. Hobgoblins with Mighty Blow, 56% of the time, they are going to end up at least stunned. So, downside there. Upside, movement 5, strength 5, strength 6 with horns, and it's just an awesome removal piece. It's a funny little roster, this one. You've got a little gaggle, a little warband of players, and just this thing just emerges like the Balrog at Moria and just tanks one dude. And then you kind of move up your phalanx and then it comes out and tanks another dude. That doesn't happen in Moria, fortunately, but, you know, hey, stay away from wizards, I'd probably say, with this Minotaur. So, you've got that, and when it comes to the skills for the Minotaur, block is obviously the best skill you can give him. Pro, we've talked about pro and how effective it is. Those are both secondaries. The likelihood of you getting secondaries is quite slim. And then there's Juggernaut, which is just the best skill you can put on a Frenzy Minotaur. It's going to be 2 or 3 die blitzing, and pushing those both downs into pushes just means he gets to roll another 3 dice on that Frenzy block. Every now and again you're going to outstretch yourself, and every now and again you frenzy yourself into a bad situation, but when you're rolling 4 to 6 dice, you are likely to be able to drop that target, and then it's your mighty blow against their armor, and all you're looking for really is an armor break to take a dude out for 2 turns, basically. So the Minotaur is a fantastic piece. It's backed up by the fact that you've got 4 hobgoblins with movement 6, edge 3 to do stuff. You've got 2 Chaos Dwarves there to be, like I said, short-range blitzers, and then you've got a Minotaur to be a short-range removal piece. It's just so much fun, and you've got 1 reroll so that you can feel better about yourself when you double skull with the Chaos Dwarf. Now, we've had a reroll in all of those rosters because a reroll in 7s is actually really useful. You get maybe 1 if you've got access to leader, maybe 2, and that is just... It keeps the game fast, but it also means that something really unfair can happen to you. So having that reroll as a safety net is going to keep your team more consistent, and it's going to keep you being able to execute your entire turn. Or you can run the max strength roster. Now this one is just pure fun. Minotaur, Bull Centaur, Chaos Dwarf, 3 Hobgoblins, 600k on the nose. So you've got 3 Hobgoblins to do bull stuff. You've got a Chaos Dwarf to have a little bit of block and tackle that you can kind of use when you need to. Like I said, his role is a short range blitzer, not to blitz, but just to maneuver around. Then you've got 2 Bull Centaurs, strength 4, movement 6 to 9, and you've got the Minotaur. The only sad thing about this roster is that you can only blitz once per turn. This is an absolute threat house that is comparable to no other roster, I believe, than potentially Chaos Renegades. There are other rosters that have this amount of strength but not this amount of movement, and I just think this is purely terrifying on the pitch. 1 Bull Centaur makes a reasonable 7s team. 2 makes a powerful 7s team, and you're chucking in a Minotaur, which just makes this over the top. This is going to be so much fun. You are hurt on agility, sure. You're hurt on consistency, sure. But if you roll hot, your opponent is just going to get absolutely ruffle stomped, and it's so cool, and you get a real kind of feeling of what a fully fledged NOS-powered Chaos Dwarf team can be. Now, I know I'm supposed to finish this video with what is the technically best roster for Chaos Dwarves, and this is not the best roster for Chaos Dwarves. I think, quite frankly, 1 Bull Centaur, 3 Chaos Dwarves, or 2 Bull Centaurs is probably the right way to go. In fact, 1 Bull Centaur, 2 Chaos Dwarves, 30k for an assistant coach is probably technically correct. But if Chaos Dwarves are split into 2 types of Chaos Dwarf players. You've got mega consistent dudes who will just probably roll, actually 1 Bull Centaur, 3 Chaos Dwarves, reroll, keep it slightly under control, and just play really well with good positioning and a good skill package. And then you've got the Chaos Dwarf players that are playing with power, because power can be unleashed with this roster. And on the 7s pitch, this is what it looks like. You've got the consistency of a couple of Chaos Dwarves. You've got the reliability of those Hobgoblins. You've got a reroll to keep your team doing the team things. And then you've got your Minotaur to run hot or cold and either wreck your team, wreck itself, or wreck your opponents. So if I was playing Chaos Dwarves at an event that had an average skill package, or I was running in a league, I would run this one because it is more fun. But if you want to play consistently, 1 Bull Centaur, 2 or 3 Dwarf Blockers, and those Hobgoblins is probably the right way to go. But this is fun. This is really fun. Anyway, let me know what you think of Chaos Dwarves in Blood Bowl 7s. I'm a huge fan because they've got the best big guy in 7s. And that, yeah, sign me up, to be honest. Right, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.